Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
At this time, we're going to get ready to get started. And put your phones on vibrate, please, or put them on silence or airplane mode. At this time, we're going to get ready to start our service, and we're going to have the blowing of the shofar first by Aliyahu, Aliyahu, and then we're going to have our prayer immediately following by Koti Shema. She's going to come up and pray for us. So at this time, let us stand on our feet. And we're going to turn our face towards the east, looking towards Jerusalem, as we hear the blowing of the shofar and begin to pray. Aliyahu.
Our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the esteem forever. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I'd like to say once again to the Mishpachah, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Today we're just going to continue with our lesson from last week and the previous 2 weeks, a fundamental understanding and approach to the Hebrew scriptures. And we are going to go ahead and get started, not prolong the time. I'm not going to go into why I'm doing this lesson because it is explained at part 1. So for those who haven't seen the previous 3 parts, please go to the our YouTube page or go to our Facebook page, and you can catch the videos there. We are going to pick up with Ezekiel, the 36th chapter. We're going to start at the 26th verse and read the 27th verse. And we're going to ask Aliyahu if he would get that for us.
You said Ezekiel
36, verses 26 and 27.
Ezekiel 36, verse 26. A new heart also will I give you, and a new ruach will I put within you, and I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you an heart of flesh. And I will put my ruach within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and ye shall keep my judgments and do them.
So what's going on here is he's talking about the heart of Yashra'al having a stony heart. So we spoke about last week when Musa came down off of the mountain of Sinai, when he saw what the nation of Yashra'al had done by profaning Yahuwah, he took the tablets of stone and he broke them, which would be a sign of Yahuwah's covenant with Yashra'al, how he was going to have to break them or break their stony heart and give them a heart of flesh, which will later on signify something. how would he go from taking a stony heart, from which he wrote his covenant on, and make it a fleshly heart and write his covenant on the flesh of their heart, or their heart of flesh? So let's go to 2 Corinthians 3:3.
Second Corinthians 3, verse 3. For as much as ye are manifestly declared to be the epistle of Hamashiach, ministered by us, written not with ink, but with the ruach of the living Elohim, not in tables of stone, but in fleshly tables of the heart.
Not in tables of stone, but in fleshly tables of the heart. Very important. Because we're going to see something. Yahuwah is using his son, Yahushua, to speak to Yashra'al. And he's very specific with his word choice and his language that he's using. All of this is pertaining to the nation of Yashra'al. Now let's go look at something in Jeremiah 31 and 31, down to Jeremiah 31 and 34. Aliyahu or Jeremiah 31, start at verse 31 through 34.
Yirmiyahu or Jeremiah 31, verse 31. Behold, the days cometh, saith Yahuwah, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Yashra'al and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Mizraim or Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith Yahuwah. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Yashra'al. After those days, saith Yahuwah, I will put my law in their inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know Yahuwah, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith Yahuwah. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sins no more.
Hallelujah. So you see what Yahuwah is doing here. He's making a covenant, or he has made a covenant with the nation of Yashra'al. That covenant was broken. What was the covenant that he made with the nation of Yashra'al? Remember, when Moshe or Moses came down off of Sinai, he did not have a body of legislation that consisted of 613 laws. Moshe did not come down with that. How many did Moses come down with? 10. He came down with 10. He came down with 10. So, when he said he's going to make a new covenant with the house of Judah, or the house of Yashra'al, or Israel, and with the house of Judah, what we have going on here now, where you see that word new, it should be noted and understood that that's the wrong word to have there. It simply should be renewed. I think that comes from the Greek, because I didn't look. Is it kainos? Am I right now? Yeah, it's from the Greek kainos, which means it's not something new or totally different. It's just a renewed covenant. It's the covenant that he originally made with Yashra'al at Sinai. Now he's going to make that covenant, or renew that covenant, with Yashra'al and Judah, both houses. So what's taking place is this is how that covenant goes from being written on a tablet or table of stone. Now he's going to write it and put it in on that inward part. And that's the thing, but in order for him to put it on that inward part, something has to happen first. Just like those tables were broken, or those tablets were broken, Yashra'al had to be broken. The fallow ground of their heart, it had to be broken. That's what the parable of the soil of the seed is about. The stony ground is their heart. And see, with Yashra'al, because she was so hard-headed, stiff-necked, and rebellious, what did she need? What had to happen to her to finally bring her, put her in a position, bring her to a place where she can submit to Yahuwah and give her heart to her groom? She has to be broken. Let's go on to Hebrews 8, Sergeant Care. We're going to do verse 9 through 8, Hebrews 8 and 8 through 8 and 12.
Hebrews 8, verse 8. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days cometh, saith Yahuwah, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Yashra'al and with the house of Yehudah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith Yahuwah. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Yashra'al. After those days, saith Yahuwah, I will put my laws into their inward mind, or in their hearts, and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them an Elohim, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know Yahuwah, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. How far down you want me to go?
12.
12. Verse 12. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more.
Now, y'all see how that said the exact same thing as Jeremiah 31 and 31. So we went from the Tanakh, came all the way over to the Messianic teachings, or what we call the Brit Kadashah New Testament. So you had it in the quote-unquote Old Testament and New Testament. But you ever notice when you went down to verse 33 in Jeremiah 31, 33, and verse 8 of Hebrews 8 and 10, he said, the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, he said, I will put my what? Laws into their mind and write into their hearts, write them on their hearts. Now, he's talking about his people right here. He said, and I will be a Elohim to them. And it said, and they shall be what? To me, or be my people. He's very possessive. And that's why when we do these lessons, it's very important that people pay attention and hone in and look at every word very closely. Because if not, what you would do, you'll let your mind go off in left field and go out somewhere it shouldn't, and all of a sudden you get off course and you realize that you've lost sight on what he was saying. It's about him and his people. The Hebrew scriptures are about Yahuwah and his people.
Moreh.
Yeah,
if you don't mind, I would like to just go a little bit to edify a little more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you spoke on it. So just for everyone, like what he was saying about the new covenant, it's not actually a new covenant. It's a renewed or rebuild. When you look at the word new in the Hebrew, it's the Hebrew word 23 and 19, right? Which means Kadesh or Kodash, which means new. It says new, but it's from the Hebrew word, the Hebrew number 23 and 18. So when you go to 23 and 18, it says exactly what Moreh said. It says that it's a primitive root to be new causatively to rebuild or renew or repair. So it's something that was there already. It's not a new, it's not something new. It's actually renewed or rebuild or repaired. So that's just for for people that's in YouTube or Facebook that's looking, that don't have understanding of that. Moreh is not bringing this out of his head by just saying,
Right.
It's a renewed covenant. Because you see it says new. So, just like what he was saying, you actually have to look at each and every word to get the full understanding and look at the Hebrew perspective of it, and you'll get a better understanding.
Hallelujah. Appreciate it, Aki.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anytime you feel like you want to interject something, feel free. That's why you're up here. You're not just here to read. If you want to interject and give a little more enlightenment on something, feel free.
Hallelujah.
Appreciate that. Hallelujah. And so what we see is we're looking at something renewed. So with that understanding, if it's a renewed covenant and not a new covenant, and we know the original covenant was made with Yashra'al only, what do we think the new covenant and the New Testament is about? What group of people? Yashra'al only. And it's a shame we have to do these lessons, but we want to give our viewing audience understanding. Because when you come up, you want to say that we're being biased or racist or something like that. No. You have no understanding of what you're reading. And that's what makes us sound like separatists, sound like we're biased or racist. And that's why I keep telling people, Christianity, the institution, religious institution, are very bad for people. They come up with an ideology or philosophy to draw in the masses with sweet and kind words. But at the same time, these masses end up losing their soul or take a chance at missing the kingdom because of that nonsense. And that's why we want to take time to go through these things so we can get people to just slow down. Pay attention to what you are reading. And that's the thing, because 90% of us in here, we've been through that movement. We've been into Christianity or these religious institutions. And we were doing the same thing till Yahuwah said, wait a minute, you belong to me. And he showed us our call, showed us that we were Yashra'al. And so we had to sit down and reread and restudy everything. And when you do that, you find out it makes so much sense. Let's go over to John, Yehukanan, the 11th chapter. We're going to start at verse 49.
Yehukanan, or John 11, verse 49. And one of them, named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, Yet ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perisheth not. And this spake he, not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Hamashiach should die for that nation. And not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of Elohim that was scattered abroad.
Okay then. So up in verse 51, who is that nation?
Yashra'al.
Be more specific.
So the
Third kingdom.
The house of
Let's look at that again. 51. Matter of fact, read read 51 and 52. I want y'all to pay very close attention.
Yehochanan 11, verse 51. And this spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Yahushua should die for that nation, and not for that nation only.
Stop right there. And not for that nation only. That's what I want y'all, the southern kingdom. Who's the southern kingdom? The house of Judah. Caiaphas, the high priest, spoke under the influence of the Ruach when he spoke these words. He said, if it's necessary for him to what? Die for that nation, and not that nation only, but what? He should gather together in one the children of Elohim that were what? Scattered abroad. So, Yahushua came to do what?
Gather among those who scattered and bring together back one nation.
Die for one nation, and the other nation do what?
Bring back together.
Bring them back together. So, we know the mission and the ministry of Yahushua was to die for the nation of Israel. Israel had been split into two kingdoms. Yehuda or Judah, the southern kingdom, the nation of Israel or Yashra'al, the northern kingdom. So we see what his ministry was about. It was about the regathering of the scattered tribes of the northern kingdom, the house of Israel. So, what happens when he brings back in one, or the scattered back with the remnant of Judah? Say it again.
Come together and become one.
They come together and they become one. What cannot happen until those two houses come together and be one?
The death of the Shiach. The death of the Shiach.
Let me listen real good. What cannot happen until the two houses come back together and made one? Thank you. The renewed covenant. We are not under the new covenant yet. We cannot enter into that covenant until the two sticks or the two houses have been made one again. That's the whole purpose of Hamashiach coming. You know when he said, being that the house of Judah, or aka the Jews, rejected the good news, now it's sent forth to who? The Gentiles. This whole dispensation that we're living in is about the house of Israel. They are the Gentiles. Remember we went back to Genesis and we did show where Jacob blessed his, or not blessed, but prayed over his 12 sons. And when he got to Ephraim and Manasseh, he said Manasseh would be a great people, but Ephraim would be a multitude of nations. And we went to the Hebrew, we said that's Hamalah Goyim, which means the fullness of the Gentiles, or Ephraim is the fullness of the Gentiles. So, until this dispensation is over and the two houses are reunited, we are not under the new covenant, or nor can we enter into the new covenant, or I should say renewed covenant. So that's what Caiaphas, the high priest, is speaking of at this time. So let's go to the book of Esther, the 3rd chapter and the 8th verse.
Also, he said you're going to meet with them face to face.
Exactly. Exactly.
The book of Esther, the 3rd chapter, verse 8. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people, neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them.
Okay, now who do y'all think these people were? It's Northern Kingdom. Your code 1 and 1, or James 1 and 1.
Jacob, or James 1 verse 1. James, a servant of Elohim and of the sovereign Yahusha, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations.
That's good right now. And so who was scattered? The 12 tribes which was scattered abroad. Because remember, when you get to a certain time in history, even after Mashiach had come, and after Rome had began to come take over Jerusalem, you remember a lot of southern kingdom, they got up out of that land. Let's go to John 3:16 and verse 17.
John 3 verse 16. For Elohim so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For Elohim sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved.
Okay then. Which world is this talking about? Because most people think this is talking about this whole big globe that we live on, that they think this is the world. You know he wasn't talking to the world because he didn't come to the world. He went to his people. Then he turned around and told, he said, I pray for those that the Father has given him. He said, he don't need to pray for the world. So the covenant promise, everything leads back to Israel. Let's go over to Galatians 3:29. Because Galatians is a book that really throws a lot of people off.
Galatians 3 verse 29. And if ye be Hamashiachs, then are ye Abraham's seed, and heirs according to the promise.
Is that if ye are in Mashiach, ye are an heir of covenant of promise that was made to who? Abraham. So a lot of people have gone astray with that too. So as long as I got Jesus, I'm a seed of Abraham. I'm a part of the royal family, of the royal priesthood. That's what they like to say in the Christian church. But that's not so. We're looking at here, Romans 9 last week told us the covenants pertain to who? Israel. So when we see this, people automatically think they're grafted in. No, they're not grafted in. So let's look at something right quick, because we talked about the 2 olive branches a few weeks back. And what most people don't know, the house of Israel and the house of Judah both have to be grafted in. He only divorced the house of Israel, but he cut both houses off. We can read about that in Jeremiah. He said the branches were broken. You got a question? Okay. Let's go on as far as I can. Romans 11 and 17.
Romans 11 verse 17. And if some of the branches be broken off, and you being a wild olive tree were grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches. But if you boast, you bearest not the root, but the root thee.
Okay then. So what is he specifically speaking of right there? And who is he specifically speaking of? Read it again one more time. He's talking northern kingdom, but read it again. Thank you.
All right. Romans 11 verse 17. If some of the branches be broken off, and you being a wild olive tree were grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches. But if you boast, you bearest not the root, but the root you.
So what we want to get understanding on right here, although Israel or the house of Israel was wild or wild olive branch, they still were a part of the rootstock. It wasn't like they were something foreign. Now let's go down to verse 23 and 24.
Romans 11 verse 23. And they also, if they abide not, still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. For Elohim is able to graft them in again. For if you were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these which be the natural branches be grafted into their own olive tree?
Y'all heard that? So the grafting in has nothing to do with the other nations. It's about both houses being grafted back into Hamashiach. Both of them was from the same rootstock and share the same parent stock or rootstock. That's why it's so easy for them to be grafted back in. See, most people don't pay attention to that. They don't realize Judah was cut off too. They think it's all about Israel being grafted back in. No, Judah and Israel both have to be grafted back in. What's your question, Koti?
Another question, Moreh, Kasadawa asks, can you read John 17, 9 to 19?
John 17 or Yehukanan 17,
9 to 19.
9 to 19.
Yahukanan, or John 17, verse 9. I pray for them. I pray not for the world, but for them which thou hast given me, for they are thine, and all mine are thine, and thine are mine, and I am glorified in them. And now I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to you, spiritual Father, keep through thine own name those whom thou hast given me, that they may be one as we are. While I was with them in the world, I kept them in thy name. Those that thou gavest me, I have kept, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. And now come I to thee, and these things I speak in the world, that they might have my joy fulfilled in themselves. I have given them thy word, and the world hath hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. I pray not that thou shouldest take them out of the world, but thou shouldest keep them from the evil. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. Sanctify them through your truth. Your word is truth. As you have sent me into the world, even so have I also sent them unto the world. And for their sakes I sanctify myself, that they also might be sanctified through truth.
Hallelujah. Moreh went to the scripture that I was talking about when he said, I pray not for the world, but I pray for them what? That I have given me. And see, this is the thing. When it comes to salvation, the world is in a position where all of the world rules over Israel. So what would the world need to be saved from? It's Israel who's the one that needs to be saved. Israel is in a position and in a condition that they need to be saved from something. And that's why I like Luke, the first chapter, because it tells us exactly what they need to be saved from. Matter of fact, let's just go over that right quick. Luke, the first chapter, most times I like to start around the 23rd verse.
You want to start 23?
Hold on one second.
You said Luke 23?
The first chapter.
First chapter.
Yeah, let's start around 23. I think I got it right. I'm ready.
Luke 1 verse 23. And it came to pass that as soon as the days of his ministration were accomplished, he departed to his own house. And after those days, his wife Elizabeth conceived and hid herself 5 months, saying, Thus have Yahuwah dealt with me in the days wherein he looked on me, to take away my reproach among men. And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from Elohim unto a city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. And the angel came into her and said, Hail, thou that art highly favored, Yahuwah is with thee, blessed art thou among women. And when she saw him, she was troubled at his saying, and cast in her mind what manner of salutation this should be. And the angel said unto her, Fear not, Mary, for thou hast favor with Elohim. And behold, thou shalt conceive in your womb, and bring forth a son, and shall call his name Yashra'al. He shall be great, and shall be called Son of the Highest. And Yahuwah Elohim shall give unto him the throne of his father David. And he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there shall be no end.
Okay, say he shall reign over who? He should reign over the house of Jacob. The house of Jacob and all 12 tribes of Israel. Or Yashra'al. And it said unto his kingdom there's no what? There's no end. And I keep trying to show people, the nations have had their time, they've had their fun, and they are enjoying it. And we're supposed to let them enjoy it. Because Yahuwah's kingdom is for who? Israel. And to his kingdom there's what? No end. When we go in the rule, we're ruling forever. Like we were supposed to do in the first place. The nation of Yashra'al is supposed to rule over the nation, and that their position is to rule over the nation forever. And this is what hurts people so bad when they have to read these things. But I was looking for that verse where it talks about saving Israel out from their enemies and out of the hands of them that hate them. I thought that was Luke 1 and something, but apparently it might not be. I thought it was like 1 and 60 something. But anyway, I'll find it. But what we see is the nation of Yashra'al, Hamashiach came to die for Israel. And this is why people don't understand. You have to get the right understanding of what's going on in this book. Now, when I get through with this lesson, I'm going into a lesson on Isaiah, the 53rd chapter. It's very important. We have to know why he died and what he has fulfilled.
I think it's Luke 171.
Oh, 171, I didn't go down far enough. So I can't you get that? Started around 60, Luke 1. Started around 63, I believe. No, it started at 67.
67. Luke 1 verse 67. And his father Zechariah was filled with the Ruach, and prophesied, saying, Blessed be Yahuwah Elohim of Yashra'al, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, and hath raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David.
Stop right there. Now, what we see happening right here, you notice that he has visited and what? Redeemed his people. Y'all remember when you was in the religious institutions or the church and you sang people, you hear every church you go, they always had a song. I have a song that the angels can't sing. I've been redeemed. I've been redeemed. No. Redemption, I'm going to say this one time and I need everybody to hear me all over the world. Redemption is only for Israel. There's not a people outside of the nation of Israel that can have redemption or receive redemption. It's impossible. I've been telling you, how is it impossible for anybody to receive redemption? Because he didn't betroth or enter into a covenant with no other people but Israel. Did he not tell them, say, you're not your own? He said, you've been bought with what? A price. What was that price? His blood. The giving of his life and the shedding of his blood. No one on this earth can receive redemption. Only Israel. Israel is the one that received salvation. How do we know? If we can get ready to read. But I'm going to jump back to what I'm talking about when as long as I can't finish reading this. And he's going to tell you what he's saving Israel from.
Luke 1 verse 70. As he spake by the mouth of his set apart prophets, which have been since the world began, that we shall be saved from our enemies.
Now, we shall be what? Saved from what? Our enemies.
And from the hand of all that hate us.
And from the hand of all that hate us. Does it sound like Israel need to be saved? Only thing you got to do is watch the news every night. You can see that Israel needs to be saved. Everybody hates Israel or hates the so-called African American, blacks, and those in the Caribbean. All of those that were descendants of slaves, that's Israel, and everybody hates them. If you don't believe me, find out where they are. In any part of the world you go to, look for Israel and tell me the conditions that they're in and how they're being treated. I don't care what hemisphere you go to. Find those people who were descendants of the slaves that were carried into those regions. Find them and tell me what conditions they're in and how the people treat them. And you will realize Israel needs to be saved from what? Saved from their enemies, out of the hands of them that hate them. That's why even the Most High, when he spoke to Israel, what did he say? O ye nation, undesired. Don't you know he had to know how the world looked upon and looked at his people? For him to say, "O ye nation undesired." Now, he know he beautified her, but he realized what happened and where she is and how the condition she's in now. He said, "O ye nation undesired." Now, folk want to act like they got a problem with you now that they know you his people. And I'm going to show you how wicked these people are and how evil and dirty their heart is. Do y'all not know, not one time when we were introduced to white Jesus through Christianity, we love white Jesus more than our own parents. We had no problem serving, no problem following. Now that we know that we're the children of Israel, now that we've read the book and found out that he's the same color we are, you tell somebody that he's a brown man or a black man, you will almost have to kill them. They literally have a problem. And they always come up with that foolishness. Well, he's lighter, yeah, he's lighter than you, but darker than me. He wasn't black and he wasn't white. I can't say what I want to say because we're on TV. But y'all, stop the madness. Let me tell you something. And then they go to, well, he's not black, he's not white, but he's more Middle Eastern or olive skin. Now, I'm almost 50 years old. I've been eating olives. I can't say nasty, but I've tried them. And I've been seeing olives all my life. There's only two colors I've seen worldwide: black and green. Now, the only two green people I've seen, Shrek and Hope. Now, either Hamashiach is my color or the color of his people, or we're dealing with an alien, a Martian. Because let me tell you something, I've never seen a green person walk this earth. I've seen some yellow people from jaundice or something, but not green. But see, that lets you know the extent people will go to, and it lets you know the conditions of their heart. Mm-hmm. That this man, it's okay as long as he's white. But don't you dare say he's black or even begin to think that he's black or what they call black. That's an evil person. And the sad part, you ever notice even over in China where they have Chinese Christians? You've never seen a Chinese Jesus? Even Christians in Japan, not once have you seen a Japanese Jesus. This sounds crazy, but I'm trying to show you something. That's for a reason. How is it and why is it that everywhere you go in the entire world, pretty much, except Ethiopia, you know, they're gonna keep a black one in there. You find this blonde-haired, blue-eyed man all over the world.
And you know what else is what I find interesting is that they even say color don't matter. Have you ever heard that? Mm-hmm. Now, if color don't matter, then why is it that you have a so-called white Jesus, when the scripture tells you, you know, the original, you know, right, color of Hamashiach? If color don't matter, you know, why is it that the Jehovah Witnesses or Jehovah Wickedness, what you call it, why is it that, you know, they have a white Jesus in their you know, little books and stuff like that? Exactly.
That's designed to keep European imperialism and superiority going. And I hate to just hone in on one group or race of people, but that's what we're dealing with right now. So I'm going to deal with them. I'm going to get on the other ones too. Don't worry. I'm going to get them too. when you deal with the people and you have brought a people, you ravished them and raped them of all their culture and robbed them of all their culture. And now all of a sudden, you are putting the images in writings and stuff. You done beat them into this religion. Now, in order to keep you looking like you're superior, what have you, now you put a deity that looks identical to yourself. And now, when his people look up to worship an image, which his people never had images. So now all of a sudden you've introduced them to an image, and now the image looks like the same people that oppressed them. That's a mean, wicked thing right there, y'all. Y'all know Israel never had images. They would have never had anything to look like or to depict them what Hamashiach or Yahuwah looked like to them. That was forbidden. That's why they ended up in captivity with images and idols. So, when you do that, you rob the people of something. And this is why the Most High is going to get these nations, especially that one in particular we're talking about. Because they did something that most nations didn't do. In order to do that, do y'all not know when they first started bringing the slaves, they were killing off the older slaves and the elders. Because they had all the knowledge. So if you move them out of the way, those that are coming up, you can easily instill all this foolish system into them because they don't know any other way. And that's what they did. And this is the very reason why the Most High gonna whoop them behind. So, with that being said, when we talk about, because I was talking about the olive branches and being grafted in, and then we went to talking about the covenant. It's so important to understand why Hamashiach died. When we got to John 3:16, we're talking about his people. He had to die for his people. And with that, we have to understand the full works of Hamashiach and what he came to do. Because what happens is, when I listen to a debate or watch a video of somebody saying that Isaiah 53 is about Israel being the suffering servant, that lets me know that they don't understand what they read or what they're reading. And also, for someone who said they're Tanakh only or Torah only, if you're going to say you're Tanakh only and Torah only, make sure you have a thorough understanding of what you're reading in the Tanakh or reading in the Torah. Because it's obvious from what I would listen to, they really don't understand. That's why I always say it's important. When you're going to read something like that, you have to look at these English words and go back to the Hebrew. And from what I was reading, everything that you read in Isaiah 53, if you go back and look at these English words in Hebrew, it's word for word of when you go back to Leviticus when it comes to the sacrifices and offerings. I mean, word for word, but you got to be able to correlate and go back to it. And so, when Hamashiach came, come tell you that he talking about this covenant, that he loved the word that he gave it, the Most High gave his only begotten son. Why did he give his son? We know good and well he ain't just giving his son just to be given, just to die. If we're talking about a covenant that had been broken by the nation of Yashra'al, and we knew that something was required in that covenant, so for the establishment or the reinstating or renewing the covenant, would not the same thing be required? I've never heard something so stupid in all my days that Israel is a suffering servant. Don't you know if Israel was a suffering servant, there would not have been need to be a need for a Levitical priesthood with all the sacrifices. The whole purpose of the sacrifice was so something else could die, so the nation of Yashra'al wouldn't have to die. Does that make any kind of sense to y'all? Because the whole covenant was whoever broke it, they were to die in the same manner. And Yahuwah was going to kill them. But Moshe intervened, and he said, no, don't kill him. And so Yahuwah heard Moses, and what did he do? He gave them a maintenance system, so they wouldn't have to die. But the innocent animals, they'll die in your stead. And this is going to work, and this is going to be in place until something comes along. It's a shadow of things to come. And that thing to come was Hamashiach. I said that either I'm crazy and I'm reading a different book, or I don't have understanding, somebody else got it, but I know better. Okay. But I'm going to get off that. I'm going to digress and go back to where I was. But we're going to deal with that too. So, Zazakan got to reading Luke, telling us what Israel was going to be saved from. What this world that's going to be saved, what they're going to be saved from. He done told us, I pray not for the world. He prayed for those that you have given me. And so when we see this, all the way, y'all know all of these lessons have been about Yahuwah, his son Yahusha, and Israel. He didn't even dealt with nobody else. You see, the nation haven't even come into the picture because it has nothing to do with them. Let's go over to Yehukanah 2 and 6. Yehukanah, or 1 John, I'm sorry. 1 Yehukanah 2 and 6.
First John 2 verse 6. He that saith he abideth in him ought himself also so to walk, even as he walked.
Okay, then say he that says he abides what? In him. You have everybody say they're a part of that family. They got him down on the inside and they're saved. They say he that abideth also will what? Walk as he walked?
That's right.
How did he walk? He kept the Torah and the commandments. And did he not say, if you love me, you'll do what?
Sir, keep my commandments.
You'll keep my commandments. But you know these people tell you they done away with? Let's go over to Revelation 5 and 10.
Revelations 5 verse 10.
Let's start at verse 1 out. I'm sorry. Let's do that.
Revelations 5 verse 1. And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the back side, sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong Malachim proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof. And no man in Shamaim or heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders saith unto me, weep not, behold, the lion of the...
Hallelujah. We're going to stop right there for a second.
Revelation 5, verse 5. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 ruachs of Elohim, sent forth into all the earth. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of saints. And they sang a new song, saying, You are worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. For you were slain and has redeemed us to Elohim by your blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation.
So stop right there. Read that last verse you just read and pay attention to what it's saying. Pay attention to every word Zazakan says when you read this last verse.
Revelation 5, verse 9. And they sang a new song, saying, You are worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. For you were slain and has redeemed us to Elohim by your blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation.
Who is saying this? Yashra'al. Read it again. Listen to what Yashra'al says.
Revelation 5, verse 9. And they sang a new song, saying, You are worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. For you were slain and has redeemed us to Elohim by your blood.
You were slain, and what? You have redeemed us. This is Israel talking. You were slain, and you have redeemed us to Elohim by what?
By your blood.
By your blood. Go ahead.
Out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation.
Out of what? Kindred, tongue, people, and nation. So when it said for Elohim so loved the world, Israel had come from where? Every nation, kindred, tongue on earth.
Hallelujah.
Now watch what he said in verse 10. I want y'all to pay very close attention to verse 10.
Revelation 5, verse 10. And has made us unto our Elohim kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth.
He has made us what? Kings and priests, and we shall what? Reign on the earth.
Question. So when you say that they came out of the world, are you saying like, or it came out of every tongue and kindred? And is that are you saying that because they were all scattered?
Yeah, because they were scattered. That's why I went into the scatter, because they were scattered throughout the 4 corners.
Okay.
Every hemisphere they were scattered in. That's why it seems like he's talking about the world, because he's bringing his children who have been scattered all over the world, bringing them back together. And when they come back, they're going to be speaking what? Meaning what? They have become many kindreds of people. And they have what? You know, they only had one language.
That's right.
But now, since he's going to be bringing them from every area, they become with many tongues.
That's right. That's
And
right.
doesn't he speak about giving us a new language or a new tongue? You see why he's going to have to do that? Revelation 19 and 7. Because we're going to find out who these kings and priests that are reigning on the earth.
Revelation 19, verse 7. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready.
The marriage of the Lamb has come, and his what? His wife has made herself ready. Now let's go the Revelation, the 21st chapter. 21st chapter, starting at the 10th verse, down to the 12th verse.
Revelation 21 verse 10. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the set apart Jerusalem, descended out of Shamayim from Elohim, having the esteem of Elohim, and her light was like unto a stone, most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates.
How many gates?
12 gates.
12 gates.
And at the gates 12 malachims.
12 malachims.
And names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Yashra'al.
And these names were written where? Now, y'all ever ask yourself, why is it that there are 12 malachims at the gate? Can you recall a time where there was a gate or an entrance where there was a malachim placed there? What happened to Adam when they were exited out of Eden? Did not the Most High place a malachim there at the gate with a flaming sword? Why? To keep those that who were not supposed to enter out. When I tell you that this kingdom is for Israel, y'all better hear me. I'm not playing. This is Israel's kingdom. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I just have to be chosen to do it at this moment. If you're not supposed to be in that kingdom, guess what? You won't be in there. Why would he have to put 12 gates and describe in those 12 gates the name of the 12 tribes? Because I can guarantee you, when Judah enters, they won't be entering the doors of Ephraim. They're going to go through Yehudah. When Benjamin comes in, he's going to enter where? Through the gate of Benjamin.
That's right.
Ephraim is going to enter through the gate of Ephraim, Manasseh, and so forth. Which gate is Moab going to enter? Which gate is Esau going to enter? Which gate is Ashkenaz going to enter? What's Abraham's other son name? Ishmael. Which gate is Ishmael going to enter? If you're not of those 12 tribes, you will not be entering. I know this sounds harsh, it's tight, but it's right. I keep trying to show people. Do y'all not find it strange that we've been in a subservient role our entire existence under these nations and kingdoms? They haven't had not any problem with that, have they? They have prospered. They've gained all kind of wealth with us in these roles. Now all of a sudden, when the Most High establishes his people in his kingdom and put his people back in their rightful place, now it's a problem when you tell them they're going to be in subservient roles and they're not going to be in this kingdom. That's crazy. But I'm sorry, that's the way it is. It would be something different if I was making this stuff up. Have we not been going reading this, y'all?
Right.
But the people have not been taught this, so it causes a problem for them. And when you tell them that that book that they stole has nothing to do with them, it does talk about them, though. And about how they're going to be punished for what they've done.